Hello everyone, welcome to another live hangout. I think we're starting like 20 seconds early today, but that's the way it goes. Welcome. I hope you're having a great and safe time wherever you are. There's a bit of turmoil in the world at the moment, and yeah, so I hope you are safe and healthy and doing well. As we kick off today's show, I do have to let you know that I continue to have tech issues. You know, last week, if you watched last week's Q&A, which I really enjoyed, in part because we got to the end of the show and we'd had no tech issues. The show didn't fall over. Believe it or not, I finished the show and within minutes, my whole computer crashed again. So we got lucky, folks. I'm hoping that I've solved the big issue around my computer, but I continue to have a little bit of a challenge with the software that I use to do these live shows. So if I drop out in the middle of the show today, it will be because my webcams, the USBs just keep dropping. Long story short, it will take me 2 or 3 minutes to reactivate that all, and I'll do my best to get back on. If after 10 minutes I'm not arriving, then you can presume that I haven't been able to resurrect it. But fingers crossed. I've made some changes prior to coming on live today that I'm hoping fix it, because as I said to you last week, I am very passionate about this show and very passionate about this community, and I really do work hard to get it all working well for us so that we can do these live hangouts every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Linda, I'm sure, will continue to keep me up to date that the tech is running all okay from your end, and that it's all going well. So quite a few new names in the live chat today. So if you're new to this show, if you're new to the Voice Essentials community, welcome. This is a community where everybody sings. This is not just for the elite. This is not just for the talented. We don't exist to only serve professional singers. I am passionate about your voice deserving to be heard, and some of the joy comes from our ability to develop that voice so that you are realizing the full potential of your singing voice. That's why we're here. That's why we do this every Monday. And in fact, next Monday we'll be doing another Q&A, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then in 2 weeks' time we've got a special guest, Samantha Uren. She's a speech pathologist from Melbourne, Australia. She's going to be joining us, and I'm really looking forward to talking with her. You know that we do have these special guests come onto the show, and we're so privileged to have so many excellent people from across the globe who give us of their time and their talents, their expertise. You know, many of the people that we have come onto the show as guests are absolute leading experts in their field, and they give their time freely. So I hope you'll be able to join us then. Hey, I want to show you just a reminder, and I know some of you have already signed up to this, not tomorrow, but on Wednesday morning my time, which is 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, I am a part of this. This is called the Pandemic Proof Summit, Singer Summit, Pandemic Proof Singer Summit, Daniel. And this is a great virtual online conference, if you will, that I want to encourage you to participate in. In fact, I think it's already started. Now, that's okay. You can save your free spot. As you can see there, there's a button there. And when you do, and it's completely free. Now, there is a paid section called the All-Star Backstage Pass or something, where you get, access to a range of, massive discounts. For example, I'm providing a 50% discount for every single one of my online courses. So instead of them being $197 each, you could sign up for $97. But that aside, you can join this for free. There's a link in the description section of this video. And I'll just come down. There's a whole heap of stuff going on here. I'll slide a bit further down. There are speakers like Natalie Weiss. She does a great show on YouTube, here on YouTube, called Breaking Down the Riffs. Amazing. Some other singing teachers. Oh, there's me. There's me. Matt Ramsey's a singing teacher here on YouTube. There are just so many really excellent people that are participating as a part of this. Danielle Tucker is the lady behind it. She's the organizer, the brainchild behind this event. And I'm really looking forward to, I think I'm actually officially the last speaker for the entire event. I don't know how that worked out. I might not be. But anywho, I'm one of the last. And my topic that I'm talking to, and I'll be doing a Q&A as a part of this, is called Vocal Technique, Who Needs It? And so we're going to talk about why we do technique and why is technique so important? When we can identify a whole range of professional singers who regularly tell us that they're singing, excuse me, that they've never had a lesson and all those sorts of things. And so anyway, we're going to talk about what are the true benefits of technique, because it is really important. Okay, so without any further ado, I do want to get into our Q&A today, and so let's do that. Sorry, just making sure that I've got everything. Once again, everyone, I'm so super nervous about the tech, but I'll see you on the other side of, not that one. Hang on a second. Well, that one. Here we go. So as you know, we do the super chat thing here. So if you absolutely, I'm going to go through your questions as they're being asked, and our good friend and moderator, the backbone of this community, Linda, is already making a note of your questions, etc. And we're going to go through them. But if you are really, firstly, passionate about, absolutely needing your question to be answered, you can do a super chat. A super chat is simply where you throw in a bit of coin, a bit of money, and I always prioritize the super chats. And I also am very thankful for super chats where, you just want to be, you want to pay forward, you want to say thank you to the channel. It does cost a lot of money to run these YouTube channels. And so I'm always thankful for the super chat, because all the money from the super chats goes back into the channel. So there you go. But let's get into today's, Mackenzie's just said, maybe your software needs an update, Dr. Dan. Mackenzie, it may not surprise you to learn that base has been covered. I've had IT experts look at this. It's a mystery. There is a bit of a mystery going on that we are trying to get to the bottom of. And I keep testing different things, and I'll go 24 hours and think I've got it sussed, think I've got it fixed. And as of 8:30 this morning, I thought it was all working completely fine, because it had run perfectly for 96 hours, like 5-6 days, like it had gone really well. And then all the USBs died again. So I've made another change, and so all the software is up to date, Mackenzie. But thank you for the suggestion. Malik Samir, if your vocal range is B3 to C5, what is your voice type? Mal, well, firstly, I probably want to identify: are you male, female? Then we need to identify your prima voce. I'm not going to go into it in too much depth today, simply because I have a very detailed video about this subject on the channel. In fact, it's my highest performing video. What voice type am I? Nearly 1.5 million views. The reason it's got so many views is because it's really helpful, and I'd advise you to go and check it out, because there are a number of things. It's not just high note and low note that determine your voice type. You've got to, yes, look at your high note, low note. You've also got to identify, where does your voice, what is your prima voce, where does it primarily sit? And then we've got to take into account certain anatomical factors, such as your gender, your age. There's a range of things that we'd want to look at, and the video walks you through that. I encourage you to watch the video beginning to end. You know, my videos are a little different to some people's here on YouTube, because I put so much time and effort into the research. Generally, I've got a whole, the lesson goes for the entire video. So many people, you know, it's our modern society's lack of attention span, I think, to a certain extent, where, you know, I'll have a 6-minute video and, you know, people are jumping off at 2 minutes. Now, I've got to take some responsibility. I do my best to make them as entertaining as possible. But often, you know, so much of the meat of the information is yet to come. So watch the video beginning to end, and so you get the whole picture, because this is not the, you know, I think we often want simple answers, don't we? And that's very understandable. You know, I wish I had a simple answer to fixing my computer, but there is no simple answer. I'm having to really work through the problem. And often with voice, there are no simple answers, because at the end of the day, we are a biological instrument. It's not just, you know, a simple thing of my guitar's sounding a bit dull. Oh, I'll just change the strings. There's so much more going on. You are a complex biological instrument, and so more often than not, the answers don't come simply. So Malk, I would encourage you to jump across, have a watch of that video on the channel, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'd love you to become a part of our community. M. Sathursan, when I perform high speed tempo song, I cannot handle my breathing. That would suggest that it's causing you, generally when we are singing high, if we're singing really fast-paced tempo, often that leads us to very shallow, very high breath. And in creating that shallow, high breath, what often then happens is we are not getting enough release on our intake breath. We're creating tension, and it just gets tighter and tighter, and it's a really negative cycle. And before you know it, you're locked up, you don't have enough air. So it takes, again, here's a not simple answer, it takes time to develop the ability to manage air. This is why we refer to breathing as breath management for singing. I don't refer to it as breath control, and to a certain extent there's semantics going on here, but we're learning to manage our air, how we allow air in and how we then, you know, manage the flow of air, the phonatory threshold flow through the vocal folds. So that might be something for you to pay attention to. T.S. Puma, how do we do the nasal high note? I'm not exactly sure on what's being asked there, T.S. Puma. I actually saw your question a bit earlier in the chat, and I thought, I wonder, you know, if you're making an incorrect distinction and thinking of nasality as being twang, then that's got to do with the shaping of the aryepiglottic sphincter, the epilarynx, the space above the vocal folds. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm just double checking that was not. It was not. Just checking it wasn't Linda on the SMS. No news is good news, as Linda tells me. So anyway, TS Puma, you might want to go and have a I don't know, think about whether you're thinking about twang or nasality. I'm going to keep going, M, because I've already given you an answer to a question. Ram Kuma Sunawa. Sir, my voice becomes somewhat sore while singing low notes and also in high singing. Please, what to do? It may well, in singing low notes, it may be that you're imposing upon the larynx. That is where you're intentionally sitting or pushing the larynx low. And in doing so, that might be causing some intrinsic tension, which will be more often than not quite fatiguing. So that might be something for you to give some thought to. May Pabrosis. Hello, Dr. Dan. How can I improve my pitch? Sometimes my voice is so good, and sometimes it looks really bad. What can I do for my throat and what I'm eat? Okay, let me just decipher. How can I improve my pitch? Pitch is more often than not a symptom, an outcome of other issues. And I know, and I've got activities on here on the channel, videos on the channel, that are around pitch. Where possible, I always try to remind us that pitch is more often can be a symptom, not the cause. Why do you have poor pitch? Is it tonal pitch? Is it laryngeal pitch? Is it a breath flow issue? Is it a vocal tract shape issue? Is it a tension issue? And so all of these things, typically we go looking at before we work on pitch. So for example, if you're doing my online course, the Voice Essentials online courses, and if you look at Voice Essentials, so there's 3 online courses, 1, 2, 3 for beginner, intermediate and advanced. We are indirectly during Voice Essentials 1 working on pitch, but you won't hear me really reference it all that often, simply because it's not really our focus. We do start to focus on pitch accuracy in 2 and 3, but the reason for that is because we've got to lay some technical foundations, alignment, vocal tract shape, tension management, breath management. There's a whole range of things that we've got to get right before we can start to worry about being finicky with our pitch. Too many singers want to put their cart before the horse. Too many singers want to just go directly to fixing the pitch. What happens for singers often when they do that is they just create tension. And so what happens is they might start to get better pitch, but that better pitch will end up happening in a really confined, narrow space in their voice. And the reason for that is because they've achieved better pitch by literally locking everything down and creating so much extrinsic structure that you end up reducing agility, range, you end up reducing breath. And so because everything's back the front, we run into problems. Work on the foundational techniques first, and better pitch. It's more often than not, it's always interesting to me to watch. More often than not, when we do that, better pitch follows. It's just a natural outcome of a better managed voice. I'm not saying you'll ever have, you work on those things and suddenly your pitch is perfect. In fact, your pitch will never be perfect. You're never going to hit perfect notes 100% of the time. You're a biological instrument. You are beautifully and wonderfully imperfect in your biology, and therefore you will have imperfect notes. But we can improve in our hit to miss ratio. So anywho, I hope that's helpful. Joshua Spades, hey Josh, Hi, Dr. Dan. Do you know some exercises to strengthen whistle register? I don't. As we've talked many times here on the channel, whistle register is a register that is only accessible to a small portion of the population. I am not one of them. And so access, and that's because it's a very particular posture of the vocal folds that it would seem, though I'm you know, I haven't read recently anything that reminded me of this fact, but it would seem that that's because, you know, there's a DNA thing going on, just like, you know, some people can roll their tongue and some people just simply can't and never will. Some people can tongue trill and some people can't. So anywho, that it would seem that this is in this, the whistle register is in a similar ilk. I do have a video, Joshua, about whistle register that you can go and check out on the channel. But as far as strengthening it, I would think the very act of going there and workshopping it. I do have an exercise in Voice Essentials 3 that workshops falsetto very specifically. What you could do, though I have not myself done this with the activity, though I think this could be a thing you could do, is simply play with that exercise, but do it even an octave higher than what the exercise itself is driven at, because that'll have you access the whistle register, which typically sits above C6. I hope that's helpful, Joshua. Coming down, lots of questions today. Wicco, good to have you back, Wicco. I think I remember you from last week. Hello, Dr. Dan. When are the new videos coming out, especially ones that you mentioned last live stream? What videos did I mention last night? I can't remember what I did yesterday, Wicco, let alone remember what I said in the last stream. I do, you know what, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I said at the beginning of the year that I had a lot of you know, ideas around videos that I was going to do and concepts, and I was going to do a whole heap of collaborations. And these are all great ideas. Oh, after the last 3 weeks with the tech issues that I've had and what have you, I wonder whether I've just got to check my ambition a little bit, manage my time, and you know, I can tell you that this tech thing that's been going on with my computer has stressed me out like you may not believe. And so I'm putting on the back burner some of my plans that I had as the year's rolling out, and I'm just checking myself from a sense of the ability to do all this stuff, to be honest. And because at the moment, the other challenge that I have, it's actually not a challenge, this is a wonderful thing. I am absolutely chockers when it comes to, you know, live, you know, students here in the studio and online. And so I'm just not getting the opportunity, the breathing space to really do the groundwork on some of these ideas that I've had. And so I'm just being gracious to myself and just taking a measure of what is actually achievable, Daniel. And I've really made sure that this event, this live show, is a priority. And so getting it to work, you know, flawlessly is currently my sole focus. And so, you know, and the ongoing, I've got, I continue to write my scripts for the pre-record videos. So continuing to roll out 1 or 2 videos every month for you, so that, you know, we're continuing to develop along our pathway of learning together. But as far as all of those, excellent. I mean, some of the ideas I've got for the channel are really good, if I might say so myself. They're really positive and they would be wonderful. But at the end of the day, you know, besides my wonderful Linda and Kathy Schneider, who's our new moderator, with Linda, but for the most part, I'm kind of, there's only me. So, yeah, so stay tuned. We are continuing to be proactive, but equally we're continuing to be smart about, you know, what is achievable and what is sustainable. That's, you know, what is sustainable. I want this to go on for the long term. I've just seen Terry of Scuba Girls of Georgia. Terry and I had a fun lesson this morning. She's in the US and I'm here in Australia, and so we had our lesson this morning at 9 a.m. my time. Good to have you join us, Terry. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here, everyone. Let me jump in here. So that didn't really answer. Oh, I hope, Wicco, that makes some sense for you. You've asked how much weeks 1 hour vocal practice. Yeah, I've got a whole video about how to structure vocal practice, how to improve your vocal practice. Jump onto the channel, Wicco. More often than not, you are going to hear me refer you to a video on the channel. In part because when we're climbing towards 600 videos on the YouTube channel. And so, you know, I've got a lot of videos about a lot of different subjects. And the good thing about the pre-recorded videos is they're researched. You know, I script them, and so I pack a lot of really robust and rigored information into, you know, a 5-minute, 6-minute video for you. And so sometimes it's actually better for me to direct you to that video. So hopefully that will be helpful. Yuri Silva, hello, Professor. Well, Yuri, that's very kind. I'm not a professor. I'm a doctor. Professor is usually a term given to here in Australia, at least, given to people who work at universities. Anywho, I appreciate the intent. This is my first live ever. Well, that's great, Yuri. Thank you for joining. I wanted to know what types of foods are damaging to beginner vocal students. I know it's a pretty basic question. Yuri, I wouldn't say it's a basic question. I would say it's a really sensible question because, you know, garbage in, garbage out and all of that. We do have to really acknowledge, when we start talking about food and those sorts of things, we first of all have to acknowledge that everyone is different. I have a video about what foods are best for singers or singing, I forget which one, and Yuri, I'd encourage you to go and search for that on the channel. Hey, and Yuri, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the white bell icon, and just so you get the notifications and reminders for when the show goes. This live show comes on every week. But as far as food, so first of all, water, hydration. I cannot stress enough how important clean, if you have access to clean, healthy water, is for singing. Really, really important. Secondly, you need to be attentive to your own body and how your own body responds. I was a little naughty, for example, before today's live show. Jody had made some pasties for lunch. Now, what are they called? They're like a pasty, but like a pastry, puff pastry, filled with, it had spinach and like a cheese, like a melted cheese inside. It was very yummy. And I must admit, I like to have that particular dish that Jody makes with like a side dipping sauce of mayonnaise mixed with sriracha sauce. And I ummed and ahed, do I indulge before my live hangout today? Because I know what that dipping sauce is likely to do to my reflux. And so I know that spicy, oily foods, sriracha, mayonnaise, do to my reflux, and it heightens it and it gives it. So I went to say I was measured in how much I had. That probably would have been a lie. I wasn't overly indulgent, but I don't think I could say I was measured. I enjoyed it. Anyway, the point being is that I've got to be mindful of the impact that it will have on my voice. One of the reasons I actually did have a moment of stop to think is because I've had the stress of the tech thing going on this morning. So I can already feel my reflux playing up a little bit. So am I going to add to that potentially with sriracha mixed with mayonnaise? So far, so good. In fact, I did a lot of wrong things before today's show. I also, with that, was washing it down with carbonated water. Carbonated water, like any carbonated beverage, is also going to heighten reflux. So this today, it's a case of do as I say, not as I do. And hopefully my example, it just shows you we're all living this life, aren't we? And so the point being is that you have to be mindful of how your body responds. What are the triggers for things like reflux? Now, you may not suffer from reflux at all. And if you don't, that's fantastic. But you do need to be cognizant and start learning to listen to your body. And then paying attention to how does your voice perform after certain things. So, for example, another thing that I am always quite diligent about is I don't tend to eat a main meal before I have to, sing professionally in performance. And that's because I just really notice the impact that it has on my diaphragmatic movement and my breath management. And so I'm very careful with things like that. So there are a number of things. Of course, dairy is another one that can really trigger for some people. Now, the research, the most recent research that I know on this topic of dairy is that there is no identifiable change in the viscosity of the mucosa as a result of dairy. That being said, I have to put my hand up and say, my experience when I have dairy is I've got to be very careful because I feel an impact on me from that. So anywho, I go into all of this in greater depth in the video about what foods should you eat. So hopefully that will be good. Coming down here, Randolph Gallagher, and if I remember, Randolph was being a bit cheeky earlier in the chat about how fast can a laden swallow. I had to chuckle, Randolph, if I'm remembering correctly, that it was you. That was quite funny. I think 24 miles per hour was Linda's researched response. Randolph, is music theory important for vocalists? Yeah, look, it is. Is it absolutely necessary? No, it is not. However, and I say this to you as someone who I would never consider myself an overly skilled person around music theory, because it's a real discipline all of its own. But of course, I have done right through to doctoral level for music, and in particular, even during my undergrads, probably where I did the most music theory. So I did enough to get myself by in an undergrad course at university. However, I don't use a lot of music theory as a part of my lessons, in part because, I mean, there's always on the lesson sheets, there's a transcription of notes, but it's in part because I know it can be quite intimidating for some people. And I also know that it's not absolutely necessary to knowing how to sing, or what to sing. We are very fortunate. We live in the 21st century where we have access to so many tools, audible tools, that we can use and implement, and we can learn a lot of stuff off by ear. Music transcription, music theory was very much at the fore when we were in a time where before we had recording devices. And so, you know, when you had to learn a piece of music, you were being given a piece of paper and you had to read the music. And so that was when it was really, really important. I just want to clarify before I answer, I've seen Errol's super chat. Thank you, Errol. I'm going to get to you in a moment. I want to be really clear. It's of great benefit to those of you who want to really become well-rounded musicians. It empowers you, like music theory, it empowers you to talk with and interact with instrumentalists in particular, so that you can communicate with the band what you're wanting, and you know, so if you have opportunity to study music theory, you won't regret it, though you may find that it's quite challenging to learn. Okay, so Errol, thanks for the super chat. Very much appreciated. I'm still confused about what happens after I take a breath to sing. Should there be an effort in that sensation, a pressing or a holding, or should I just try to breathe deeply and relax? This is a really good question, Errol, and I'm so pleased you threw in a super chat alongside it. For many years, there's been this sort of school of thought that we shouldn't have to worry about breathing. We should allow our breathing to happen naturally. And that comes from this idea that our bodies do breathe naturally, you know, pretty much from the day we are born. And, you know, our body takes in air for living, tidal breathing, and for the, you know, the exchange of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide, and all of that sort of stuff. However, when we then come to changing and interrupting that automated process with a very intentional process of quicker inhalation to extended exhalation for singing, because we're wanting to, you know, prolong the exhalation over a phrase, then we start to run into a problem. I just want to throw in here, we're going to finish after Errol's question. So no more super chats if you're wanting a question answered, and we're going to be drawing a line under it after this for Errol. So we have to just be really careful in how we interrupt what is a very natural process. And that's where we have to be really workshop our breath management. How are we managing the air in how it not only goes out, but also how we allow it in, and making sure that we are getting, you know, good retraction of the musculature and the internals of the vocal folds, like the vocal folds are retracting, allowing good amount of air in. These are all really important things to learn, and my observation is for most people this does not happen naturally. This is something that you have to learn to do. This is why I've got the online singing program, the Voice Essentials, because we go into this in quite some depth. You ask the question, Errol, should there be an effort in that sensation? It's not easy to learn to coordinate all of this. So in one sense, can it be effortful? Yes. Should there be a sense of strain around that? No. No, we should be able to coordinate it in such a way that it almost becomes natural. I don't think it does. I think we have to be quite intentional about it. But we certainly, things can go a lot easier for us when we learn to coordinate it. I often say to students, good breath management is always very similar to choreography for good singing. Sorry, for good dancing. You know, you have to, in some songs, you have to choreograph your breath management and really know, when am I going to take a breath, and more importantly, how am I going to take the breath? And that is, again, as we've been saying a bit today, very different from individual to individual, and depending on your body type, that is going to have an impact and an influence on how you breathe. So Errol, I hope that helps. I do have stuff on the channel about that. There's quite a lengthy video about breathing on the channel. You may or may not have seen it. Go and have a watch of that and go through beginning to end. It's like an 18-minute video, but it's a full lesson on breath management, and hopefully you'll find that helpful. And once again, thank you very much for the super chat. Just a reminder, as we come to an end today, Pandemic Proof Singer Summit, it's happening right now. You can enroll right now. All you got to do is go to the link, use the link in the description section below, and you can participate that. I'll be talking on Wednesday morning. It's free to enroll. It's free to join in, or you can join into the, you can get the backstage pass and get all the freebies and discounts and all that sort of stuff. It really is actually very, very cool. Okay. We made it through another one with no tech issues, I think. So that's positive. Of course, last week when I said that and signed off, within minutes my computer crashed. So wish me luck. If you've enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we would love you to join this ever-growing community of singers who, just like you, want to realize the full potential of their singing voice. And hit the white bell icon, because that way you'll get reminded every week that we're going live. Because we do this show every week, Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 1 p.m. And we will do this Q&A again next week. So I'm hoping that you can all come and join me, and I'm hoping that I'll have better news around the tech, that things will have gone so much more smoothly, and it'll be like this serene zen of that you won't recognize me, because I'll just be this picture of... Anyway, I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you again soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing